Good Monday morning, and I got Mom with me. We thought that maybe we could have a follow-up with some of the family members for Motivational Mondays. And it is, we got about 9 days before Christmas, so you're probably your last full work week for the year, because most likely you're off a day for Christmas, hopefully, or somewhere in that week, and then New Year's. So this week is often a wrap things up kind of week. So Mom's favorite topic, I think, or favorite word is kindness, or one of her favorite words. So we're going to talk about kindness on today's Monday episode. Definition of kindness: having or showing a friendly, generous, and considerate nature. And the quote I picked, do you remember the Dilbert cartoons that Dad used to like, the little office guy years ago? So Scott Adams is the guy that created those cartoons. Here's a quote from Scott Adams. "Remember, there's no such thing as a small act of kindness. Every act creates a ripple with no logical end." I thought you would like that quote. Mm-hmm. So I've not prepped Mom at all for this. So she's hearing that quote at the same time as you are. So that quote especially, think about that. There's no small act of kindness. It all has a ripple with no logical end. The easiest way to think about ripple is when you throw something in a body of water, right? And especially if you're good enough, I am not. You've seen me on a video recently try to skip a stone, and it just keeps going, and it keeps creating ripples, and then they merge with the previous ripples. What do you think that quote means when it's saying there's no logical end to an act of kindness?
You can't see what impact it may have on someone else or people down the road. For a person who is doing a small act of kindness, it may not seem like a big thing, but if you've ever received one, it can be much bigger to the person who's receiving that than you know, and can impact them in ways that you may not know. You don't know what kind of bad day or bad life circumstance that they may be having. You may not know that they may be holding on the very edge, and that small human kindness may have made the difference to them. You may not know if they feel like life has no purpose. So first of all, I think it has a huge impact on the person who's receiving the kindness. It may inspire them, serve as a role model for them to repeat that kindness to someone else, so that it does ripple out. But I think selfishly, you don't know what kind of impact it's going to have on the person who is doing the kindness. Because if you will just be kind, you will change.
And you don't know what kind of impact it has on you.
Right.
I believe Victoria, I think, sent me an article recently. It was in CNN that there was an actual psychological study that over however many years, 20 years, that generous people are healthier. And right. In your mind, you don't think that necessarily ties together. If you're generous, and we're talking about kindness, but it's an act of kindness to show generosity. That doesn't physically do anything for you, except that it changes who you are as a person mentally, and it compounds. You know, it's a you drop the pebble at the top of the mountain, it goes down. I try to give a personal example on these of something that I can directly recall. So here's an example. We talked about empathy recently. We talked about $1 more on a Thursday episode, where what does it mean if you just tip an extra $1? It means nothing to you. If you're blessed enough to be able to go out to eat, that extra $1 is not impacting you, but it could mean something to that person, and that could have a ripple effect. But in this specific example, this is years ago when I was coaching a team, and part of my responsibilities were I had to get food for the team before the game on game day. So that we would, sometimes we'd work with restaurants, but the preferred method was to have a local restaurant that would bring food in, that would cater it, so that you could keep the team together. So we have long-term family friends, that a guy that I went to school with in kindergarten and owns a local Italian restaurant. And so this one year, I asked them if they'd be interested in helping us. The restaurant's name is Giuseppe's. be interested in asking if they'd help provide food for a team that I was coaching that year. And they said yes, and they didn't charge us for it. They wanted to provide for that team. That was an act of kindness to our team. However, they went above and beyond with the amount of food that they gave. It was too much. It was just too much. I don't know if they thought we had more members of the team. I don't know. But the first time it showed up, it was just plates or catering trays. So much. And at the time, I was working at more of an inner city, downtown type school that had access to help homeless people as well because of the nature of the school. And so we ended up with all of this leftover food that was given as an act of kindness to help this football team and a long-term friend, people they knew. And it went, and then it became food that could go to a homeless group. And they never knew that. That's not a thing that they knew. It wasn't a thing that was intended, but that's an example of the ripple, how it could just keep going. And what I don't know is who knows whose life that impacted. And then they were able to go do something else for somebody else. And you don't need to know, right? I mean, my belief is when you show kindness or when you do whatever it is you do, if I give Mom this spoon, I don't give it to her because I hope that she gives me a fork later or that she does something for me later. I give it because I can give it. And that's what I believe is the right thing to do right now is I'm able to, I'm going to do this for you with no expectation. So you don't need to know the ripple, but it's important to know that there is impacts of your kindness, that there is down the road. And it can be as simple as a positive comment on somebody's Facebook post or, sharing a picture or just the person that you talk to at the checkout counter or whatever, any of that. If you're working holiday shopping season and you just had a bunch of people be mean to you and they didn't get the price they wanted and that whatever, and the next person says, I appreciate you, and I know that it's hard to have to be up here today, and I really appreciate you being here so I could complete my Christmas shopping. It could change that person's whole outlook on things. And, you hear, at least in our world where, being a family that's been in ministry and that kind of thing, you hear stories a lot of, well, I was going to go do X, but somebody was kind to me. And I decided not to very bad things, or drink myself to death or sue. You hear a lot of stories like that. And usually the thing that happens was not somebody gave them $1 million. It was somebody just showed an act of kindness.
I think the hardest people to be kind to are the people that don't deserve it, and the people who've been mean. And the human response is to retaliate and be mean back. It takes a lot of something to not be. And especially takes a lot of, grace, I guess, to be kind instead. We don't know why that person is reacting in a mean way or a unfriendly way. There's a lot of that happens. But I would encourage us all to resist doing that, whether it's as simple as how easy it is to respond in an ugly way to a Facebook post or to someone who cuts you off in traffic or just any number of things. I tell you, it's not, I think kindness impacts most the person who is being kind, really. Mm-hmm. It will change your soul. And to resist responding in an ugly way to people will change your soul. And if you need a good selfish reason to be kind, there's that. It will change you. I have a hard time asking for Christmas presents. My family will tell you that. They want me to make a list. And at this stage of my life, it's not a whole lot that I can think of that I need or even want sometimes, because I've lived a long time. You accumulate a lot of stuff. But, so it almost gives me poor pleasure to think of someone that I can be kind to or generous to. It almost is, I'm sure, just really down in my heart what makes me feel best. And so maybe you will find there's some way, and we talk about being generous,
I'm dying over here, apparently.
and that involves finances, but there are many, many, many ways that you can be generous without having to spend money.
Yep.
Just many ways. And I encourage you to do that, to share whatever you can, whether it's your leftovers with your neighbor. I do that sometimes. Walk across the street. I can't make just a little bit of chicken and dumplings, so when I make them, I always have too much, and the people across the street love them. So, what harm is it to walk across and give something away as opposed to having to 3 or 4 days later throw it in the trash?
Yeah, you're not going to eat it anyway. Not all of it.
Yeah, so there are lots and lots of ways to demonstrate kindness, and the biggest ripple effect, I guess, it will make is on yourself. I promise you that. So I tell my kids, you tell me if this is true, that nothing makes me prouder is when I hear of kindness that my children have done.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I just, nothing makes me...
There's no success that's greater than that.
No, not to me. I mean, be the wealthiest person in the world, but you don't share it. What good is it? There are so many people to help. And I contend that all of us, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I haven't found myself to be wrong. All of us are looking for the same thing, regardless of what you believe or think or what kind of person you are. All of us are looking for a sense of purpose in life, a sense of worth, that we matter to someone. And if you can make someone feel like that they matter a little bit more, then both of you are going to have a better day. That's worth doing.
Yep.
That's my philosophy in life. It's worth being kind. I hope, I promise you, I'm not always kind every single day. I can get irritated, and I'm sure that I've been mean before. Who hasn't? But those are not the days you feel good at the end of the day, are they? You replay those conversations in your head, and you feel embarrassed, and you feel like you weren't a good person. But the days that you can, just a simple little bit of kindness to someone, are the days that you can go to sleep and feel good deep down inside. And that's what makes you feel like you matter, when you can do that. That's what really matters in life. So, for what it's worth.
So the challenge this week for us all is to start that ripple somewhere intentionally. Set out in something you do this week and try to start a ripple with an act of kindness. It won't be random. It's not small. It's all kindness. There's not degrees. In that definition we read, there wasn't degrees of kindness. It's just kindness. It's just, it is or it is not. So be intentional.
And don't be mean. That's not going to help you or anybody else. You're not going to feel better for saying you think you are, that you're going to make that mean response. You think you're going to feel better, that's going to feel
Yeah, we'll probably at some point talk about that, but I don't remember the exact quote, but the whole, the mean, being mean is the setting yourself on fire to hope your enemy gets burnt.
Yes.
That's what negative comments are. That's what trolling is on social media. That's what yelling at the person that cut you off in traffic. You're not accomplishing anything other than yourself.
Blood pressure goes up.
Yeah. So, challenge. Have a good week this week. Try to start a ripple effect, and we'll talk to you next time.
Take care.
Get ready for Christmas.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Oh.